Okay, hi there. So put your hands up if you love MSBuild. Anybody? Oh, some hands, okay. Well, yeah, so everybody your hands down, like this talk is for you because nobody wants to sit there and kind of formally learn MSBuild, but we all want to know what's happening with our build. And so this tool here will let you kind of really easily kind of explore it and figure out how it works without kind of formally learning it. Shameless plug, I blog at Stuart.dev and I link out to all my things, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, go ahead. We don't have to because my DMs are open. And so this was me yesterday on my Mac, and I just did a .NET build, and it kind of blew up, and it blew up with a compiler error. And compiler errors are great because they tell you what went wrong and where they went wrong, and exactly what line it went wrong on. So we know exactly how to fix it, but sometimes we get errors in our build that aren't compiler errors, and sometimes we don't know what to do with them. We have to sort of Google search, or sometimes we don't even get errors. Maybe a file wasn't copied to a folder that we expected when we did a publish, or maybe we're trying to version a NuGet package, and maybe the NuGet package itself has got the right version number, but the assemblies inside didn't get the right version number. What happened there, right? So we need to figure out what happened, what didn't happen, and why it happened. And if we're just using text logs, someone told me they always switch on, they know somebody who always switched on verbose text logging. If we're doing that, we're probably not going to have a good time with it. So there's this thing that fixes it, or helps us out, and that's called binary logs, and it was added to MSBuild a few years back now, so it should be in what most of us are using now. So you can get a binary log out of MSBuild by doing, if you're using .NET, .NET build /bl or MSBuild your file /bl. And what you'll get is this MSBuild bin log out of the back of it. And you can open that with Visual Studio or Visual Studio for Mac, and it will give you a summary view. But the best tool for viewing this thing is something called MSBuild Structured Log Viewer, which I'll show in a second, and it's awesome. So you want to get it from here. This is the GitHub repo where it lives. It's built by Kirill, who's a Microsoft employee, so it's not an official Microsoft thing, but it's as close as you can get to it, right? And it's the bee's knees. Just going back to the those structured log files, the actual bin log files, they're pretty cool because they actually contain a lot of information inside of them. So Microsoft actually use it themselves. You're able to actually replay MSBuild with these log files. And Microsoft use this to be able to debug MSBuild against customer builds. That's not very useful for me and you, but it's just to show that it's a very complete file format. But it's also very, very dense in information, very condensed. So it's actually often smaller than a verbose text output from a verbose build. So I'm going to demo it now. Quick caveat. The screen here isn't very good. So if you're looking at this on the internet, hello internet people, this will hopefully be nice and crisp, but for you in the room here, sorry, bear with me, the details don't matter too much. And so I'm able to mirror it on the screen, or is this just how it's going to be? Cool, I'll give it a go. Right, so here's one I made earlier, blue pizza style, and I've just opened it up. You can, it associates with the MSBuild bin log files. You can just double click and open it. And the first thing I want to point out, is the file itself contains all of the source files for everything that happened in the build. So these aren't the files on Dan's laptop here. This is from my laptop when I built it. So if you built this on your CI server, it would bring all these in so you can kind of drill into what happened in your build. And then the next thing to notice is that the build itself is in this tree view here. So here, hope you see it's nice and visual and colorful. And if we drill in, bear with me. So, so we can kind of see here, but you can't see, but imagine you could see it really crisply. You can kind of see, it kind of shows it in a tree view because that's how MSBuild works. It's kind of resolved the dependencies of all the targets and kind of shows it in this structured way, in the kind of way that it actually works. And because it has all the source files in here, if I hit enter on one of these things, it'll actually show the source. So you can jump straight into what that target did. And that can be really useful. You can also, just a random tidbit of information, if we go to the project file, I think I'll work on this file here. Yeah, the solution file, thank you. You can click, it doesn't say it, no. I can't show you it. Oh no, online I can. Let me do it here. Does that say process? That's the one. You can pre-process the file. So when you actually do an MSBuild or .NET build, it'll actually do this as the first thing it does. It kind of pre-processes the file and brings in all of the imports from all the various places around your file system. And so if you ever wondered what your build does, you can't see the scroll bar because it's off the screen here, but it's teeny tiny. Right? Your build actually does a whole ton of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. I can't seem to scroll. Oh, there it is. This just goes on forever and ever, right? So there's a lot that can go wrong, and we want to be able to diagnose this quickly and easily. So we look over here. I've searched at the top. Cool. So, for example, I can search for version prefix. So that's a property you might use, and it shows the value. It shows all the values and where it was used. So, for example, if I click here, it'll highlight it in 3 here. You can see. Oh, that was the value set somewhere here. I've lost the mouse. Cool, thank you. When I did this demo before, you were able to see that you can kind of jump to where that value is used. So you can kind of explore and find where stuff is being set and where it's being used, for example. But it's much more powerful than that. This is going to be so slow to click. Bear with me. Anybody see my cursor? Top left, down a bit. I've lost it. I'm wiggling it around. Anybody? I think I am. Oh yeah, I am. Hey, thank you. Okay. So if you clear out the search, you can actually see in that left pane. There's actually other query syntax that this thing supports, and some of them are kind of built in already. So for example, let's go to it. It has some for some of the more well-known tasks. For example, this one here says CSC task. So if you click it, it will filter straight to CSC, which is the build step. So if you click on it, you go straight to that task. For example, you can't read this, the actual command line that the compiler actually ran, so you can see all the information. But what I hope you can appreciate more is that in the structured view, you can kind of dip into this in a much more meaningful way, so you can see all of the, what is it? There's the parameters, yeah. So you can actually drill in and see all the values that are passed to it really quickly, rather than trying to deal with the textual output. So it's really useful for that kind of stuff. How are we doing for time? Cool. You can also, come back here, one of the other things that often goes wrong with our build isn't the compiler itself, but it's actually resolving references and resolving where the assemblies actually live on disk. So for example, we can go to resolve assembly references, and you can see, so this is all the resolved assembly references. So you can actually see in here, it'll tell you, oh, it's resolved it. It will tell you, you can't read this, but imagine you could read it. It will tell you where it's found it from, and if it's copied it to the bin folder, so you can kind of figure out what's going on. Much easier than trying to do it with the text output. What's also really cool about this tool is that it has a timeline view. So I was building a Xamarin app on Android, and the build time was taking 40 seconds to do a development build, and this tool showed me immediately that all that time was being spent in compressing images, which shouldn't happen on a debug build. So I was able to go to it, I was able to click on the task, I could see the condition had been met that shouldn't have been met, that enabled that thing, and I could delete it from my project file, and everything just went down to 2 seconds again. So this thing saves a lot of time. Do you want to use it in CI? I'd say yes, unless you have secrets in your build, which you shouldn't really have. You should definitely use this in CI, because you can see a working build, a failing build, open them up, see what's different. Maybe you're importing a new SDK, and it's these sorts of things you can find out really fast with this tool that you otherwise couldn't. And that is me. You can't ask questions because we're out of time.